What's up, guys? My name is Con, and we're back today in Scrap Mechanic. Now, this is kind of like a weird little video, and this was actually someone, I can't remember who, and this is going to really bother me now. And I was going through the comments, and I couldn't find it, but a while ago, someone said and challenged me to make something that can hover using only a single thruster. I really wish I could find the comment. So if that was you, please comment down below. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, this is easy to do, and you can use like an infinite suspension glitch and then have a single thruster and all that. But there are a few challenges. For example, if you try and make something with just a single thruster, you run into obvious stability issues. Perfect. And then on top of that, if you try and make something that, let's say, has a nice balanced weight. So in this case, if we take the thruster and turn it down to 3, you can see we've got a relatively balanced weight. You still run into stability issues, and it won't be able to go up and down with terrain. And so that's sort of the main problem. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, it's easy. You just put a sensor on a thruster and you call it a day. And that's fine, but if you just put a sensor on a thruster, you end up with this, which is really, I mean, it bobs, and it'll almost always hit the ground. Basically, you can't have a single thruster get enough lift to get up to some certain height where the sensor's at. It's always going to shoot past the height and then come back way too quickly and bottom back out. So the solution is, of course, to pulse this thruster, which basically is something like this. So you've got stability control with some suspension glitches. Now, there is no infinite stabilizer. I mean, there is, like, you know, sensor activated suspension glitches at each of the 4 sides. And then you've got buttons there as well, which allow you to manually override the suspension glitch if you really want to. But if you turn this on, you'll see, you can hear it, and it'll pulse. And you can see it pulsing all the way up. Now, that one flies. You can... yeah. But if you add a little bit more weight to it, just with some concrete and a chair, then you can actually create something that can hover simply by pulsing its thruster. Now, you might wonder, well, what's it doing? In reality, it's actually pulsing that thruster on and off. So there's 2 stages of activation, one of which is the normal flight mode, where it pulses the thruster, and that's what keeps it hovering. And then the second one is when the sensors activate, the thruster goes into a secondary mode where the pulses become longer, and that allows it to hover up. Now, of course, it isn't the most stable thing in the world, but overall, it does work relatively well. And then using the, you know, the manual buttons, you can kind of tilt yourself in one of the directions you want to go. But again, not exactly the most reliable thing in the world. But it works. This was one of those things where, you know, again, I really hope whoever commented watches this video and will remember that they asked this. But yeah, it was just one of those challenges where I spent a long time thinking about it, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I had some failed attempts. For example, this is the gyrocopter, which it didn't really work. As you can see, it's not exactly hovering, and there's no sensors, and it's perfect. Look at it. It becomes like this kind of, yeah. So we kind of scrapped that, and then there was another version here which added steering to the thruster. You can see that there's suspension glitch steering and all that, and kind of allows you to steer a little bit, but that actually glitches it out a lot more and makes it a lot more unstable. So I kind of scrapped that design as well. But overall, definitely the center hovering thruster was just such a great idea. It was such a simple concept, and I decided I wanted to do it. So a lot of you are probably asking, well, what does all the circuitry do? There is a lot of circuitry in there. So you're probably wondering, well, what does all that do? Well, it's actually really, really simple. Basically, the way this works is on a really, really simple principle. So you start with a switch, and the switch goes to an exclusive switch timer. I don't know what you want to call this. It's an alternating timer, right? So if you ever want to make an alternating timer, it's really, really simple. You go timer to exclusive OR gate goes to AND gate, back to timer. This goes to AND gate. This also goes to exclusive OR gate. And you end up with this. And as you set the timer, if I set it to 1 second, this will alternate in 1 second intervals, right? It'll be on, off, on, off. Now, the nice thing about having this AND gate here, this becomes your output. And the reason why this is nice is if you have an on-off switch like this does, when you turn off the switch, even if the timer is still bleeding, it instantly shuts off the AND gate, which instantly shuts off your output to your thruster. So that's the basic principle. Now, after you have this circuit, I wanted also to have an interrupt circuit. Now the interrupt circuit is because the thruster needs to stay on for a longer period of time than it's off for. Just using an alternating circuit, and your thruster would turn on, off, and it would be even intervals, and that wouldn't really work for this situation. You need it to be basically on and then off for a split second and then back on again. So for that, we used a secondary circuit. Now that secondary circuit was this. It was just a really simple exclusive timer. So we go timer, exclusive OR, snap that across like this. Now this timer dictates how long the thruster is going to be off for. This dictates how long the interval is that it's going to be on for in between the off sections, and this dictates how much it's off for. And the way we do that is we put that to a NOR gate here, like this. So you can see there how it flicks it. So every time this timer reaches the end, or goes back, so every time a 1 second interval happens, it will flick the NOR gate off for 0.1 seconds. And then of course, to make sure that the thruster is not activated all the time, we hook this into the primary AND gate, so when you turn the system off, the thruster is off. And we can just take the thruster and put it here like this, and boom. So now you can see thruster's on, off for a split second, off for a split second, and we can control that. So we can go off for half a second. And if we go like this, let's say 3 seconds, now it'll be on for 2.5 seconds, off for a half second. See that? And so by using that principle, I was able to make it actually balance. And so if you, this is the good one. So if you look at how it balances, and we don't have to be in the chair for this, but if you watch it when it's going, so you can see there you've got the one pulse timer on the side. Now that activates on the sensors. And then you've got the other one here that activates. So every time that goes, it turns the thruster off, boom, off, and it turns it off for 0.25 seconds. And that was a good balance to make it actually float at this kind of height. Now for the sensors, come back here. For the sensors, it uses the exact same circuit setup. So you do the exact same circuit, duplicate it again, except when the sensor circuit is on, attached to this AND gate from this circuit is off. You have different timings on the sensor circuit. The sensor circuit has a shorter off time for the thruster and a faster interval between them, so it pulses more and it doesn't turn off for as much. But when the sensor one is on, when any of the sensors are activated, the circuit that just naturally keeps it up is shut off. And that way, you don't have both circuits conflicting with each other. You want them independent. So when it's first close to the ground on those bottom 4 sensors, it pulses a little bit differently to give it that height to get up. And then once it gets up to height above the sensor range, then it pulses on a different frequency. And that's what gives you this actually relatively stable hovering. So anyways, guys, this was a really, really cool build. I'm really glad it got suggested. If you guys have any suggestions for other cool logic type builds, let me know in the comments down below. I'm starting to realize too, I probably need to do a logic tutorial at some point in time. I've done some advanced timers now, and then obviously some alternating circuits like this, and I'm sure you guys would like to see more of these. So if you have any specific logic type circuits that you need to see, of course it flies a little inconsistently, but there it goes. All right, that's fine. We'll spawn another. But if you guys do have any specific logic circuits that you want to see, please leave those in the comments down below. I do want to do a logic tutorial at some point in time. I think with the logic tutorial, I'd show some advanced timers, as well as go back through this kind of circuit again. Post your logic suggestions down below, and make sure you hit that like button down below as well. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all next time.